Hey there, welcome to the Mental Perk podcast. I'm Carla Hutcherson, licensed professional counselor.
And I'm Brandy Mock, entrepreneur, author, and community leader. And we're here to talk about
real people, real issues, and real talk.
Welcome back to our show. We are so excited to have a guest today, Patti Foster. She is from East Texas, and let me tell you something. She's got a pretty off-the-charts amazing story of survival, perseverance, and continuing to educate and help others that have gone through what she has gone through. And we're just so excited. She's an author. We'll let you talk a little bit about what you do. I say a little bit. She's got a lot going on, though.
She's got a lot going on. She's a busy lady.
She's a busy lady. We love it. But we're so excited to have you today.
Thank you.
Well, to get us started, we're kind of starting a new thing in our podcast. We're doing some this or that. So today, because Brandy and I, we're like opposites sometimes. We kind of come from very different perspectives in life.
Well,
definitely.
Yeah, we mesh well.
So our this or that today is going to be brand name versus generic. What do you think, Brandy? What do you think?
You know, I'm a generic. I'm speaking the truth. That's my problem.
But we're real people, real issues, real talk.
And we are. And I'm a generic girl. I mean, I like some brand name things.
She is so generic.
You were. Yeah.
That's my sleep sound.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Here's what I say. You can do, brand name drugs, but you can get generic and they do the same thing, right?
Well, I'm not going to disagree on the drug portion because there's a cost variance there, but I'm talking like...
There's a cost variance in clothing, too.
Campbell's soup versus store brand. Campbell's is always going to be better. 100%.
Not...
Patty, do you agree? Yes.
Speaking with you on that one.
Yes.
Okay, so...
I'm telling you, store brand versus...
So are you generic or a brand?
Combination. Depends on the moolah.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly.
Or if I like it, if it fits me or connects to me.
That's me too. If it looks good, I'm going to wear it.
There you go.
I don't care if
But
it's got...
there is a feeling that goes along with brand names.
Come on.
There is
sensation.
a feeling. Yes, the sensation. It just makes you feel good. Quality. It's quality wear.
You guys
I
are
promise.
so good.
I'm absolutely quality and comfort.
Really? I don't know.
Okay, well, enough about us. Let's go back to Patti here.
Let's go back to
what
Patti.
this is about.
Okay.
So, Patti, talk to us about your journey. Tell us about everything that happened. I understand it was 2002.
Indeed.
And so walk us through your story.
Okay. And as we walk through the story, let me just say, glue matters. And glue is good that we connect. Generic,
Is that Elmer's glue or
Is it super glue?
Gorilla Glue?
It could be Gorilla Glue. Ooh la la. It's no fingers. But in the midst of even the laughter, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
I was killed on the spot. I mean, the eyeball was ripped open, the face ripped open, hanging out. I was dead on the spot. I looked nothing like I am now. And there was nothing of any life in me. In fact, it was 2002, June 18th. So I say in Texas, I call it Fry Daddy weather because it was over 100 degrees still. This is 6:45 in the evening. So you can imagine, come on, the heat
On the road,
Yeah.
all day.
You could cook an egg on that asphalt. Yeah, 100%.
Sizzling.
Yeah.
Sister Sizzling, they call
Yeah.
me.
Sister Sizzling.
Shake and bake, shake and bake.
Generic or name brand. And so I think I was a combination of generic and name brand with everything out of my body. And in fact, I'll just be quick and try not to give too many graphics. Because
We want details, though.
Okay.
Like, let's go detail. This is
real
about, we
stuff,
want people
yeah.
really
The
to
real
understand what you went through.
put the imagination to the
Yeah.
test.
So you were with your four friends. Where had y'all been previously?
Well, there were
was
four
four
of
of
us
them.
all together, right?
Yes.
On our way, we were going to Tyler to our last Bible study meeting before taking a summer break, June 18th, 2002.
Yeah.
Texas, East Texas.
Yes.
So we're in Smith County. We're totally stopped at red light, intersection full, all lanes of traffic full. Everyone, you know how it is, getting off work, going to run errands, picking up the kids, going to dinner. So we're totally stopped northbound, Highway 69, if you know that area.
Yes.
So they're in the Bullard area of Smith County. They were building, the intersection was not yet built with the overpass. So we were totally stopped at the intersection, light, lanes, packed. for whatever reason, I took off my seatbelt. Now, we're totally stopped. And I'm sitting behind the driver. All of us have our seatbelts on. For whatever reason, like I said, I took off my seatbelt to turn and check on the flowers behind me. We're in a Tahoe, behind the second row of seats. You know, you've got the storage area. So apparently, as I'm turning to check on the flowers, bam, that's when the impact happened. There was a tractor-trailer rig, pulling a trailer full of cars, barreling down the highway at 70 miles per hour, 67 to be exact. He plowed into the back of our totally stopped Tahoe. So remember the way I've turned? When the impact happened, it ejected my body like a missile out of the back opposite side of the Tahoe. So the right side of my face, head, eye, this area, apparently hit that glass fake window, strong window, durable. And apparently eyewitnesses said, Patti, your body came out. We thought, onlookers started saying, we thought you were a piece of laundry. But they said, your body went out. And normally they said, you're going to hit a tree or a pole, gravity pulls you down. They said, no, you went up into the air and your body was caught in the air, like suspended in the air above that very SUV you had just been ejected from. They said it was really though, and one of them said it was as though the hands of God caught you and held you in the air until your SUV had spun from beneath your body and down to the ground you went. And I skidded some 3 stories across the highway into the north side of the intersection. My body landed in a lane of traffic. I'm told, I don't know that I've met this person, but they said a pickup pulled in front of my body so that oncoming traffic would not smash me into smithereens on the highway.
Wow. That's amazing.
Wow.
Did you ever get a chance to talk to the man who did that?
I hope I do one day. I never have that I know of so many.
Yeah.
So far.
Wow. That is
crazy. And when we talked about the hot concrete, we're talking that skin of yours is burned off.
Come on.
Yeah.
There was no telling what kind of sizzling power was happening.
Yeah.
But they said, this is what I'm told. And thankfully, I have no memory of the wreck at all.
Yeah.
You know, of the crash or honk or any kind of a crashing sound or glass breaking or horn. I have no memory. Thank the Lord.
a blessing.
But sometimes that's great because that's the things that come back and haunt you when you have PTSD is you're going to think of all of those different sights, sounds, and smells, right?
Yep.
And so now, you have PTSD for probably the recovery, but not so much what happened in those moments.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And they said that so a DPS sergeant, he was training a brand new trooper. Turned out to be the first fatality crash this trooper
Oh, wow.
learned.
Yeah.
They thought I was dead on the scene. In fact, when the first responders got there, they didn't see my body in the highway, so they went directly to the Tahoe I'd been ejected from, which was it had gone north through the intersection into the median.
Okay.
So they went there to find out, is there life, help, safety.
Right.
So they were trying to work, apparently somehow they saw my body in the highway. So as they or she began working on me to see if there was life, apparently the DPS sergeant came as well. And they said there's no life in there because everything, in fact, if you could look in my right ear, there's the scar starts and it goes across my cheek and area. There's crepe myrtle still in me, my eyeball, and across the eyelid and the forehead. And all that part was just ripped back to the back. And this right orifice was completely fractured, and the eyeball was hanging out of its orifice.
Oh, my goodness.
Onto the highway into a rapidly growing pool of my own blood. Well over 60% of my blood gone out all over the highway.
My
That is
goodness.
crazy.
They said my body was totally discombobulated. Everything was twisted and moving the way God did not make the body to move and survive. And so, in fact, so I'd been in radio all my life, right, since 90. And so one of my dear friends, a Marine, and he was on the radio with me for several years, and he was one of the first as well on the scene because it was covered with people, 911 inundated with calls. So my friend, he walks out to this, as he called me, the pitiful heap of bones and flesh on the highway. Had no idea that I was Patti Foster, who he'd done radio with.
Wow.
Had no idea. He said, the only way I knew you were female was because of the design on your clothes, your pants, your capri. And he said, I knew from being in the Marine, I knew that the trauma you were in, the body doesn't make it through stuff like that. You can't last. So apparently the DPS sergeant was holding my head a little bit in his hands because he was trying to give me the most subtle kind of death as possible because they knew the body can't exist like that and survive. Apparently, as the EMS worker is trying to figure out, is there life? Is there a pulse? Is there something? No pulse to be found, so the white sheets pulled over me, assuming I'm dead. And for a while, apparently I was. And from there, life
We have
changed.
to stop you there because, this is very interesting, the fact that they white sheeted you.
Yeah.
And you were basically dead for a period of time. We don't know how long that period of time was. Nobody can know that. Yeah. But what did you experience in those moments?
Yeah. Well, in those moments, stuff, and if I shoo, I'm swallowing golf balls.
It's okay.
But you'll never forget it because, shoo. But it more real than anything. Like for me, what I experienced was more real to me than you're sitting in front of me. And I remember the most beautiful shades of blue. And I remember it was so bright. You would think as a human, you have to put your glasses on, your sunglasses. And I remember, I see the room, I see the shades, and I remember being in a certain area. I remember looking at all the colors and all the people. And I remember I was looking, and to my left, I heard his voice, and I knew it was God. I never looked. I didn't have to. I knew his presence. I knew his voice. And he came to me, and he touched my right elbow, and he said, "Not yet, Patti.
Oh,
It's not your time."
Oh my gosh, I have goosebumps right now. So this is just
It was amazing.
powerful.
Amazing.
But we hear people having these experiences.
We do.
And it's so hard to believe them sometimes. But they are real. I mean, from what you're saying, it's just crazy because you were dead in that moment and all of a sudden you came back to life. They didn't resuscitate you. They didn't do CPR. This has just happened.
And he was more real than life, more real than my breath. And I remember, because I remember he was on my left, I was on his right, and I remember he was pulling me. He didn't like grab onto my elbow or clench his fingers. He was just touching my left elbow, and he pulled me out. I remember going through, they were like double doors, and they were stained glass. Not stained glass. They were the sterling stained silver, what do you call that thing, in an operating room, like you would see. And I remember he took me through it. We didn't open a door, turn a doorknob, move anything. We just went. And I remember going down a long white hallway. And I remember there were huge white pillars. I remember there were 3. And I remember on the third one, that's when I was back.
Oh, wow.
And life changed because I was still in a coma.
Yeah.
And they had to teach me every single basic function of living. I mean, nothing. I was 34, but I became a 34-year-old infant, toddler, baby.
Can you tell us what was the extent of your injuries?
Everything, death, from the top of my head, fractures from the top of my head to the tips of my toes, all over. The eyeball is fractured, hanging out. Inside, they call it a brain shear. And so in my head, when the impact happened, and so much of the coup contre coup where you hit front, back, and to the side, then it twisted my brain in my skull. That's what they call a brain shear. And usually from there, you don't get to talk afterwards or have living again or talk again. And they say often, like when you get ejected from a vehicle, then often that's death. And if not death, then you're not able to function again.
It's not you're a vegetable almost.
Exactly.
And being taken care of.
Exactly.
If you're not watching this, I mean, she's a beautiful lady. Absolutely
You would
gorgeous.
never even
You would
know.
never know.
See, you never suspect.
Never suspect it.
Miracles still happen.
Miracles do
It's
still
got
happen.
purpose, no matter what.
I mean, I'm a believer in miracles.
So,
I'm 100%.
I am too. I want to go back to what you're saying, though. You're in the presence of the Lord.
Amen.
Okay.
Massively.
And I've heard so many stories of people having these near-death experiences. They kind of talk about the same thing you're talking about. Was there anybody else around in that room with you or wherever you were?
Oh, yes.
So did you know them?
Some I did, some I didn't.
Did you visually see them or it was just
yes.
you?
Oh,
Okay.
I saw them.
So
we were together.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I saw it all.
So, God, this stuff's so expensive. It's just amazing to me.
It is amazing.
you're doing this, and I hear a lot of people that have these near-death experiences, they don't want to come back because they know what they're coming back to. You've had that extreme peace. You've studied it all your life. You came from a Bible study. You know that God's good. You know that there's these amazing things out there that we're promised when we get on the other side of heaven, right? You're there. Yeah. And just the feeling of coming back. I mean, how long was it before? You were in a coma for 6 weeks, correct?
Right.
I mean, 6 weeks. And then you walked through talking about you had to learn everything again.
Yeah.
Talk, walk,
Yeah.
function, everything.
Yeah.
Were you married at the time? Did you have children?
No.
Okay.
But we were talking about it.
Okay.
And so much I don't remember, but we were talking about getting married and just to see. And anyway, while I was in the coma, he ended up marrying my dearest heart friend from college. And so they're married.
That's only 6 weeks? Whoa, that was only 6 weeks.
Whoa. Let me rewind.
So you're talking about marriage, but then he gets married in the 6 weeks you're in this coma.
So,
wow.
You never know, And
that is crazy.
And
so you wake up to what would have been your fiance, future husband, married to one of your best friends?
I didn't remember a lot.
Okay.
So thank the Lord, my brain wasn't able to just pop back and say, hello, world, I'm here.
Yeah.
And nothing came back because as I woke from the coma, then I had to learn all the things again. So nothing came back to me. Just like ABCs. I didn't know my ABCs.
You're right.
I didn't know numbers. I didn't know talking.
Did you know your loved ones?
They had to teach me. And
so like your mom and dad were still away, they were still alive?
Mom and dad were there. And I have a brother, but I didn't think I had a brother. I thought I had a sister.
Okay.
I don't have a sister.
Wow.
It was but that's just part of brain injury.
Right.
You never know.
Did you eventually get back those memories?
Oh,
though?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then when you got back those memories, were you like, what the heck?
I'm guessing
we were supposed to get married.
Did they connect over your tragedy or something? Or how did these two people get together? That's a crazy story in and of itself.
You just never know. Yeah.
That's another episode.
That's just crazy to me.
It's so
what's
crazy.
That saying? You have this or that.
Yeah. That's a good one. Brain injury and she's funny. That's awesome. Oh my goodness. Okay, so let's go. There's so much. I mean, I'm just so I still have cold chills, and then I'm thinking the provisions of the Lord's hand upon you.
Huge.
Seatbelts off. You fly out. I want to keep going to this accident. Unfortunately, you did lose one of your friends in this accident. She lost her life, and she wasn't a seatbelt though. Correct?
Yes, she was in the front seat, feet in the seat. Like they call it Indian when you cross your legs or whatever.
Crisscross applesauce.
There you go.
I'm like shaking my head. Like, that makes up for my shake and bake.
But she was looking back at me as we were stopped at the light. Stop. Whatever you call it.
She was twisted around.
Yes, and she had no abrasions, no lacerations.
It snapped her neck.
But exactly.
Yeah.
Between that C6 and C7, where you get a lot of those headaches,
Yeah.
it had severed her spinal cord. Mine, it fractured. It fractured my C6 and C7. Hers, it also severed the cord. But they would get a pulse, lose a pulse. And they thought, okay, we can save her. So they got her out, put her on the first life flight helicopter, flew her in. They worked on her until right before midnight hour. That's when her family, they had to make the decision of turning off the life support. Heather was one of those. She never met a stranger. Oh. She was true blue. Oh. She was fat income, as they say in Australia, and fully alive. And so it was covered with people, they said, to say their farewells. And they let everyone to go through. Mm-hmm. And there's so much more I could say, but...
she was pregnant. I know you had said she was pregnant.
Emily was pregnant, the driver. Right, not Heather, but Emily the driver.
Okay.
Right,
okay.
Right. And now Emily, the driver, she and her husband were pregnant with their first little one. Emily was, or is still, an elementary school teacher. Oh. And so she actually moved away from the East Texas area. Houston was her home.
Okay.
And so She and Clinton moved back to Houston because she said, Patti, I can't keep going through that intersection.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The trauma is just too much.
I can't take it. And so they moved back. She and Clint ended up having more kiddos. 4 boys.
Beautiful.
So
4 boys.
Yeah, 3 or 4. And she's back teaching. But we talk often. In fact, she wrote some of my book. I brought you guys a copy.
Yes.
It's called Coping with Traumatic Brain Injury.
Okay.
One Woman's Journey from Death to Life.
Guys, you got to check this book out.
Absolutely.
I can't wait
it is
to.
incredible.
Yeah, I mean,
it is amazing as Patti speaks. I can't imagine her writing has to be just as good.
You know how you read the book and they say the book's better than the movie?
Yes.
We're looking at the movie right here.
I know, right here.
And I can't wait to see what the book has.
100%.
Wow. So you're talking about a car hauler.
Yes.
That hit you. That's
Yes.
well over 32,000 pounds.
Come on.
I mean,
Going
it's
full
just
speed
straight
ahead. Yep. Exactly.
iron coming towards you.
And this dude, he had 5 different drugs in his blood. Plus, he was talking.
So he was high
on the phone. No connection with.
And you said he never hit his brakes.
No, we were his brakes. And apparently, right when he hit is when he touched the brake, but nothing before then. So, and he'd caused crashes like this before. Apparently, never held accountable. So I pray for the dude. I won't say his name, but I pray for the dude. And
is he in jail?
Yes, they gave him 3 life sentences back to back. So I prayed because, in fact, one of his ex-wives ordered one of my books that I'd written. There's a book called 50 Modern Day Miracles, and an author in Canada put it together, and she asked me to write my story. I'm chapter 25, plus she asked me to voice it. So I voiced the audiobook as well. You can get on my website. But one of his exes had ordered it from my website. Okay, now when people order a book for me, I like to write them a personal note.
Oh, wow.
When I got this saying where to mail it, it was his name to his prison unit.
Oh.
That fisted me in the gut because I had no idea what to write to this person who killed us. And that took me several weeks, if not a few months, to figure out, okay, God, what do I write?
Did you find the right words?
It hit me. Carla, it hit me. Forgive him. Let him know. Just let him know. Now, it may not be worth anything to him. I don't know. But I know for me, just let him know. I forgive you. And I told him about Jesus. Now, for me, Jesus is real.
Yeah.
And I knew about him before. And he was real to me then. We were deep. But when you taste death, you have to learn again, to live again. And you have to, pardon me, get your head out of your anal orifice and learn that life is more about me, myself and I, but others are included. Then let's get about life. Let's be about what really matters.
Absolutely.
Let's live our purpose. And so I just let him know on that one little piece, the inside cover of my book. So I don't know what's happening in his world, but I know that God is trying, and it's his choice. But I know my God works miracles, and my God is real, and I know he can meet anyone in the deepest darkness. Corrie ten Boom, I remember reading about her as she came from the concentration camps and learning to live again. And she talked about, in fact, her sister Betsy, I believe, is the one who taught her, that there is no pit so deep that the love of God is not deeper still.
Right.
Even through the Hades that we went through.
Yeah.
Still, God, his love is not done. His mercy never ends.
And even though you don't know how this man received your letter to him, there's a redemption in just, one, able to forgive someone that has done something to you that is life-altering.
Yes.
You've lost friends. You've lost a lot of your life that you got. And then also, too, though, the fact that maybe he needed that, like you said. Maybe he needed to know that, he's serving his sentence. But maybe that redemption, that forgiveness you gave him is a healing moment for him to know that we're all flesh.
Come on. Maybe connected.
We are flesh, and we are here to,
Amen.
be with each other, to love each other, to know that this world is not going to be easy.
Come on.
But man, I keep thinking, gosh, Patti, going upstairs to be with a man. Woo. How hard it had to be just to go, why am I here again?
But to be honest with you,
I know why you're here.
Come on.
To be honest with you, it wasn't your choice because you first said he tapped you on the elbow and he said, it's not your time. So it wasn't a choice.
Yeah.
It was just giving you a glimpse of what there is in the future. And it makes you understand that everything that I've been through in my life is real. Yeah. That my faith is real. Yes.
Beyond what I realized.
You almost, you wish, Carla, I wish people like you and I knew that. I mean, I know he's real.
Yeah.
I know he's real. I love my Lord. I love my Jesus. But it's one thing to say that. It's another thing to experience it and to go, I mean, we know why you're here. You're here to give that hope to other people, to know that this
words
is
when necessary.
Yes.
Yes, 100%.
I mean, it's just crazy. Yeah. So go through after your 6 weeks
your
in coma. Your recovery.
Like?
What was recovery like for you, and how long? I bet.
Killer hard. Big 25-cent word, arduous. Don't know how to spell it.
I think that's a dollar word.
A-R-D.
Google. Grammarly.
Nothing was easy. Yeah. Nothing came back. Not one single thing came back to my brain. I remember as I began waking from the coma. So I was in downtown Dallas, Baylor Rehab, where I began waking from the coma, Gaston Avenue, Dallas. Mm-hmm. And I was in the Gwen Goddard ward. It was for the 4 worst patients on the brain injury floor.
Sure.
Where you had to have 24/7 care. And that's where I was when I began waking from the coma. And nothing came back. I couldn't chew, swallow, blink, breathe on my own. The trach was there. It made the noise for me. The vent breathed for me, and everything. So they had to teach me, how to, because chewing, swallowing food, eating, I had no idea. Those words didn't come back to me.
See, and that's the craziest thing to me, to think that to me, you just automatically think it's a natural thing to do. And it wasn't natural for you.
It didn't come back like that to me. So thankfully, one of the nurses, she would try to get the spoon into me. She was from the islands, and I call her Joan of the Islands.
Joan of the Islands.
Yeah, she's awesome. And she's still at Baylor on the 8th floor.
Oh, shout out to Joan of the Islands. Yeah. Hey, seriously, I love it.
Yeah, and then one of my other dear nurses that took care of me, RN, she was Joan from Canada, but I called her Mama Joan. For some reason, as I began waking from the coma, I don't know why, but my insides, like a little kid, like a little baby, I thought she was like Mama.
Aww.
And Mama Joan. I don't know, but that stuck. So I think she's retired and gone back up to Canada now. But we would stay in touch. And I've gotten to go up to Canada several times. They've had me on 100 Huntley Street, which is through all the provinces, to talk about my different books. In fact, Dr. Adams, I'd love for you guys to talk with her one time and have her on the show with me.
We'd love to have her.
Okay, she's the founder and president of Hope After Brain Injury, which I'm VP of. We're the only faith-based nonprofit of brain injury support groups that we know of in this state, in this country, in the world so far, because we get to travel all over. But we help people kind of transition back into life after they've been discharged from their last rehab or whatever their transitional rehab might be or whatever is included there. So just what we go through, she travels and we travel around the world doing, teaching people how to live again. But coming from Baylor, when I'm waking from the coma, they had to teach me how to blink, how to swallow, how to chew, and how to swallow, because Joan of the Islands would put the spoon in my mouth.
And then you don't know what to do with it.
And she said, because you didn't, the brain, those telephone poles had been knocked down, those telephone wires had been ripped and severed. You didn't remember how to do that. So she had to gain my trust for me to try to do what she was telling me to do. And she said, because if I could get the food in you, you would just keep it sitting there in your mouth. You wouldn't chew, you wouldn't swallow, you wouldn't do anything with it.
Yeah, you're like, what do I do with this?
And you were scared, so your brain was frightened because nothing was reconnecting.
So were you combative at that point? I mean, were there
Yes,
times I
very.
was to say, I know that that's a
Very part of
normal
it.
reaction.
Yes.
You're combative.
Very
Sometimes they have to,
irritable. And
anger.
They tied me down.
Yeah, they had you
Yeah,
on
they
restraints.
did. Yep.
Put you in the mesh cage.
whole nine
I mean,
yards.
everything,
Yes.
everything I've seen, because I've
Exactly.
I've had a family member that went through it, and but she wasn't near what you were. But I just remember as a family member, I can tell you as a family member looking in, because the brain is so unique. You can have the best neurosurgeons, neurologists in the world, the country. It doesn't matter anything they've seen. And I've heard too, the younger you are, the easier it is to bounce back from a brain trauma. But you're 34.
Yeah. The neuroplasticity, as they say.
Yeah. I mean, it was not.
We're not calling 34 old by any means.
Not at all. No, I don't think my age is old now. Come on. I'm just now living.
Exactly.
But,
See?
you
That's
think
what I
about
thought,
that.
too.
You think about that, and it's like, I mean, I'm thinking, these doctors, it's hard to think about, especially when you don't know, where's the hope coming from?
Come on.
And then you got the people spoon feeding you going, here's your hope right here. I'm going to shove it in your mouth. You're going to learn how to chew it.
And that's where my faith kicked in. When I was in the coma, became more real than breath.
Really?
More real, yeah. In fact, several things just went through my mind just then. One time when Dr. Adams and I, we were speaking overseas. We were in Holland, in the Netherlands.
Wow.
We were speaking at the International Brain Injury Association of the World. And we were presenting. And there was, he received the Lifetime Achievement Award. His name is Dr. Andrew Maas, M-A-A-S. He teaches over in Antwerp, Belgium, at the university there. And after he'd been speaking, I did a short interview with him just to ask him for my podcast, Straight Talk with Patti. And I asked him, Dr. Maas, if you could describe the importance of hope after brain injury in one word, what would you say and why? And he looked away and came back within seconds and he said, breath, as essential as breath. I so agree. Because hope has that deeper rooted section of our gut, of our person, that causes us to either keep trying or give up, to make us or break us.
I agree with that. Hope is so essential and healing in so many ways. Definitely in this situation, but people just struggling with mental health, they're struggling with just different traumas in their life. Without hope, it's so hard to heal.
Well, and then you go through the brain trauma, like you said.
It's
You're
so
going through
hard.
anger.
Yeah.
Depression's a normal.
Exactly. And you never know when it's going to hit.
You don't.
No.
And then you're dealing with all the emotional, mental things. But then you got to tackle the physical things, which set you back emotionally.
Yes.
So walk us through your journey. How long did it take you?
And I'm glad you said that because you reminded me of something. As I began waking from the coma, nothing was making sense to me. Like words, you know how people would come in and talk, and everything seemed loud to me.
Yeah.
And if more than one person said anything, it was like too much. It agitated me. I couldn't understand, and it made me very irritable. And this is very common with brain injury. So nothing was coming back to me, but just like a little kid, I could read your nonverbals. I could read your face, your gestures, the way you carried yourself, your bent or your walking gait or your facial expression or your touch or your tone of voice or your speed of speech, just like a little kid. So my first language, I say, as I began waking, wasn't English or German or French or Italian. No, it was nonverbal. Nonverbal communication was my first language. Because just like in communication, only 7 to 10% of communication is verbal. The big 25% words or the nouns, pronouns, adjectives. So the whopping 90% plus is basically nonverbal. So this question hit me. This is as I began, probably a year and a half after the crash. Hit me. Patti Foster, what does your life say when your mouth is not moving? Your choice. Because our nonverbals speak much more loudly than our voice, our words. Now, we may think differently. However, that's what sticks. That's what moves people, for good or bad. So that was another thing that I began to pick up.
And I wonder if part of your healing was those nonverbals, the people in the room, you could tell the ones you could trust. such as if your mother touched you or your father touched you,
Carla,
because
you're
those are the
onto it.
first ones that you would be like, okay, I'm okay. I trust this person.
Exactly. Miss Generic or name brand, you are spot on.
She's name brand. I'm generic.
I love my
Maybe
labels.
that's why I didn't get it.
But that's true, though. The nonverbals. In fact, they told my mom, because my dad got to be there a wee bit too, but he had to go back to work. And then my family, my brother, my sister-in-law, the others, and so many of the radio listeners and different friends and prayer warriors, they said the staff at Baylor and even at East Texas Medical Center in Tyler, which is now UT Health East Texas, where I was in the coma for some 5.5 weeks before they moved me via land ambulance to downtown Dallas to Baylor Rehab on Gaston Avenue. They said to my mom and to my family that her presence there could have been the only thing or the main thing that kept me from falling, staying in depression and giving up and passing. Because that could have been that power of presence that non-verbally communicated, got across to me to trigger me to keep fighting, keep trying, don't give up. Even though there was so much that did, hold me back, or resistance or adversity. But isn't it true how adversity can be our strongest teacher?
Yeah.
But we have to choose to learn from it. But it's okay if we have to press pause sometime. Just don't quite throw in the towel.
And I think that's important what you say, because it's one thing to, pause it, then persevere, right?
Yeah.
You can idle for a little bit, but the choice is yours.
Yeah.
But it's important to know it's okay to take a break.
Come on.
Sometimes your brain can get overloaded, your body can get overloaded, and knowing that it's okay to take a break. I think someone that doesn't go through a traumatic brain injury has a hard time doing that, right?
Yeah.
And then you knowing it's okay to push pause.
Yes.
But reminding yourself, just because I'm pushing pause doesn't mean I'm quitting.
Yes.
I'm going to persevere through this. It may not be what other people do, but I'm going to do it.
Yes.
And that's so important to say, because a lot of people think that it's either stop or go.
Yes.
Stop or go. There's no idle in between.
The American
And it's okay to
ideology.
idle a little.
Yes.
It's okay to
And
idle.
have mercy on yourself.
Sure. Grace.
Have mercy on. Oh yeah, and Dina, Dr. Adams, when you get to meet her, one thing when you just said grace, she says, "Add grace to your pace."
Ah,
Isn't that
I love
wonderful?
that. Grace to your
that's
pace. I
beautiful.
love that.
I love that.
Yeah.
She needs to coin that one for sure.
Yeah, she probably already has. If not, we will.
So, I'm really curious, as you went through this process, you woke up and you're going through this fight and you're learning all these skills again. How long did it take you to get back on your feet?
I was in the hospital over 101 days.
Wow.
I was in acute hospital in the coma for 5.5+ weeks. They moved me there to inpatient rehab, that's Dallas, Baylor, for 5-6 weeks, as long as insurance would allow me.
Mm-hmm.
And then they moved me via my parents' car to transitional rehab in Anna, Texas, north of McKinney.
Okay.
There 3 months as learning to live again. That's where I had to learn how to take care of myself, hygiene, cook, go to the grocery, make out a shopping list, everything. You had to learn how to live, how to take care of yourself. And then they discharged me. And from there, then you feel like, wow, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're in the world.
That's
that'd
a big
be a
deal.
hard part of the journey right then, because
Yeah.
you had all this support and now you're like, okay, I'm out in this very, very scary world.
Everybody's
again.
life's
Exactly.
moving on.
Exactly.
I mean, people are getting married that were supposed to be married to you.
Still not over that.
I can't get
Whoever
over that
you
either.
are. What is this? I don't know.
But it was meant to be.
Yes,
It was
it
meant.
was.
Nothing's an accident
Yes,
in
it
life. It was
wasn't,
meant to
though.
There
be.
you go. Forgive, we keep
And the
going.
blessing behind that was that you didn't remember it until later, right?
There you go. There you go.
But and then I love about this that we're just having this real talk, because there's humor in tragedy. I hate to say
What a
that.
difference it helps.
Yeah, there's
does,
humor in, or if you can find the humor,
Yes.
not humor in tragedy, but if you can find the humor in the dark moments.
It's release.
And just knowing that maybe our conversation we're having today is going to give someone else hope
I
that
sure
has gone
hope
through what
so.
you've gone through, because you're a living testament.
Amen.
A living testament. So you travel around the world now. You talk to people about TBIs, how to transition into life again.
Yes.
How long did it take you to transition back into what you felt was normal? Or was the old Patti normal, or is the new Patti normal to you now?
Neither.
Okay.
I'm not normal either, so it's fine.
She'll never be normal.
I get a witness.
She will never be normal.
Again, that's what friends are for.
Yeah. Are they?
She couldn't make it without me.
I couldn't.
Yeah.
See? And it took me 5 years before I had the first memory of the old Patti.
Really?
Wow.
5 years.
And what was that memory? Do you remember?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if it was
Do you remember where you
radio.
were when you had it?
No.
Okay.
No. I don't know where I was and what came back to me. I don't know. Was it to do with radio? Was it to do with speaking? Was it to do with traveling? I don't know. But something came back. And in my mind, I think it probably had something to do with radio.
Yeah.
And people and interaction or interviewing or I don't know. Maybe talking in the I don't know. Talking in the mic. I don't know. But that's when I had my first memory of the old Patti. But my mom, speaking of that, in my journals, I used to journal before the crash. But of course, I didn't know how to write, so I had to be retaught how to write. You remember those big, whatever they were.
Big fat pencils.
Thank you.
Yeah. The big fat lines.
Ooh, let us pray.
They were there for a reason, right?
Exactly. And the big chief tablet.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Yeah. So
We're
I had to
aging
learn-
ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had to learn how to write. And I have copies of it in my file of learning how to write the letter A. I couldn't do that. And coming back to have those fine motor skills.
Yes.
And my brain to connect how to do that. And then how to read, how to speak, and what it meant. Nothing was tough. Nothing was easy. Everything was tough. Physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically. But spiritually speaking, God was my one true constant throughout it all. In fact, CBN, Christian Broadcast Network, they flew down and did a story on me at the crash scene several years later, back like in 2008, 2009, 2010, something like that, and did a story on it. And that was what they called it, my one true constant, because God was my one true constant, my personal relationship with him through Jesus. That was real. And I don't mean it rudely to go to church, but everyone listening, all of us here, that it's time. It is time. Lean in and listen to me, please. It is time for us to be the church. Quit merely going to church.
I agree with that.
Amen.
To that.
Amen.
And use words when necessary.
Yes.
Come on.
Yeah.
Can I get a witness?
You got it right here. Amen,
Right here.
sister.
Hands are up.
Amen.
Hands are
Amen.
up.
Boom.
Absolutely.
Because you're right. And that's the one thing that I have a talk with people all the time is the church of the people.
Come on.
We are the people. There were no buildings back in the day. We were the people. And unfortunately in the world we're living in now, there may not be any buildings. I hate to say it, but it may not be. Where do you stand with God?
Exactly.
And how are you going to continue to
And it is
impact and
such an
affect
individual
people?
journey. It's an
It is an individual
journey.
journey, and there's no judgment.
Yeah.
It's all love
Yes.
because you don't win someone over from judgment,
Come on.
which, I can honestly say that sometimes we're our worst critics.
Yes.
And it's time to change that. Like you said, be the church, be the
What's
people.
that saying that a lot of people say? We said this one time in the Netherlands, and one of the doctors said, I've never heard that before. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
That's right.
That
What a
is so
difference
true.
caring
It's
can
that
make.
connection with people.
The
It's that-
nonverbal speak more loudly.
And I love what
smile.
you say. You have to connect with.
Huge.
Yeah.
You have to connect with yourself before you connect with others, right?
Yeah.
That's just a
Preach
big part.
it, Carla.
Yeah.
She didn't know she had a second job over here.
We better pass the hat now. We're taking up an offering.
And I love the fact, through all of this, you got to know yourself
Yes.
so incredibly well.
What really matters.
Yes.
Yeah.
What
Exactly.
do you really believe?
Exactly.
It's time to
100%.
live it.
I love that. The first responders that found you on the road, that held your head that day, did you ever talk to them after you did any healing, or after could they see you? I would love to hear that story.
I did get to meet the DPS sergeant.
Okay.
In fact, He was actually from Galveston. That's home for him, his family. But he was in the Tyler area for
Whatever
I don't know how
reason,
long,
yeah.
30 plus years. He was a DPS guy. But he had never wanted to meet his people. And he had worked fatalities over and over throughout the years. But somehow I was speaking for another ladies' auxiliary Salvation Army thing. And one of the ladies there was or had been a dispatcher for DPS. So when she found out about the story about him holding my head, anyway, somehow she told him about me and wanting somehow for us to connect. But no, he didn't want to. He didn't want to meet anyone he'd ever worked with or seen for whatever reason. But he said, eventually he did connect with me. We did hook up. And he's like my brother. He is like my big brother.
I love that.
He told me, he said, Patti, yours was different. Your crash scene was different. There was something different about yours. And I would ask him what it was. He wrote some in my book, in fact, The Coping with Traumatic Brain Injury. He said, yours was different because you walked through the crucible and came out on the other side and lived to tell about it. He said, you have a calling. And he's not a religious guy. And he said, you have a calling.
I love that.
I do too.
Big, deep, and wide.
Yeah, I think it's amazing the stories that happen when people are so vulnerable that they let God in, right? That's the biggest part of it. And it's hard because, you know, my daughter went through something very similar, not like this, but she was very ill at birth and had all these surgeries. And I remember she would draw all these pictures and they would have these horrible demons and all these things. And I got so scared thinking, okay, she's so traumatized. How's she ever going to come out of this? But when I asked her about it, it came back that she always had an angel in the corner. And she said, Mom, this is what protects me at night. This is what keeps me going. So, you know, for such a small child, she was so vulnerable that she connected to God.
That's right.
And boy, what was she teaching you through that story, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
but I was so focused on the stuff at the bottom that she was feeling probably, but what was really keeping her was that protection. And that's what she was focused on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because he was so real to me. He would, I saw him often. He would sit beside me and I could feel him against me. And I was always protected.
That is so amazing.
Always.
So amazing.
But isn't that true? When you die, you're alive, more alive in the spirit world than ever. Even if you're in a coma, you still have skin on. You still have bones in the flesh. But when you're alive in the spirit world, wow. And a believer, I know this is deep, but still, how God can become more real to you, and you taste and see. What's that verse? Taste and see that the Lord is good. And it's not this American stuff. It's not the Merriam-Webster dictionary definition of good. It's good as in God. And he's deeper, wider, and beyond anything we could ever imagine or describe in our wildest dreams. And that's where he is, and how he's closer than our very breath. And he meets us exactly where we are. No matter what, when, how.
He's waiting on us. He is right there waiting on us, even when we're not expecting.
Yes, when we least expect it.
Expect it. Yeah.
He's right there.
Well, wow, we are so thankful to have you on our show. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I hope that it gives. I mean, I feel like I could talk to you for hours.
I know. I think we could. We could do this so many more hours.
We could.
We're so excited.
And we absolutely will have you back on the show. I mean, we would love to have you back on the show. So plug in, before we end, plug in your books and plug in what you're doing.
Sure.
Current projects.
Yes. Okay. Be nosy. It's very good to be nosy.
I got that one covered.
She does.
So check out these two websites for sure. PattiFoster.com. PattiFoster.com.
Okay.
And go through and look at all my books, pictures, everything. And then go to hopeafterbraininjury.org. Hopeafterbraininjury.org. And check out everything there. We've got resources, true, tried and proven resources. In fact, you can look you can go ahead and mark your calendar now. Each year, Hope After Brain Injury, we have an annual conference, brain injury conference for all of Dallas-Fort Worth. And basically, Baylor Scott and White will host one year, UT Southwestern another. So in 2025, Baylor Scott and White, they're going to be the basic hosts of it, but they're going to use the facilities of UT Southwestern.
Okay.
So we used them last year. Anyway, it's an incredible time to be together. We bring in people. This year next year, 2025 will be the first Saturday of March 2025 for the Hope After Brain Injury Conference, the annual conference. We're going to talk about building a bridge to the community about brain injury.
I love it.
Because there's so many people, we have our silos.
Our blinders.
Come on.
Yeah.
It's time to let down the silos, put down the walls.
Yeah.
And let someone else in so we can help.
Yeah.
And so touch base with me. You can go by and buy the books. Go by my website.
We'll make sure we put it in our
Okay,
episode
great.
link
Yeah.
too,
Okay,
where they
great.
can click on it and they can get any information they
Yes.
want to about you and what you're doing.
Yeah, and I love that. info@pattyfoster.com is my email. info at pattyfoster.com. And because I'm always traveling and speaking or doing something and some kind of voice.
God's not done with you, girl.
Amen.
He is not done with you. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on our
Thank
show.
you, Patti. We love you.
Awesome.
Thank
We love
you.
back. Thank you.
If you or anyone you know is struggling with any mental health issues, we want you to reach out to a friend, a trusted family member, somebody you trust. We want you to get connected with a professional. If you are having self-harm thoughts or suicidal thoughts, we want you to get immediate help. Dial 911, go to the nearest ER, or you can call the National Suicide Hotline at 988. We at Mental Perk want you to know you're worthy. We're in this together.